What is going on, everybody? This is Yes, I Read That, and today I am reviewing The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. The Name of the Wind is probably the first book I really shouldn't review because I'm very biased towards this book. And it's not the first time I'm reading this book. Actually, this is the fourth time I've read it, but I think it also says something about the book that I still like it that much. So The Name of the Wind is a fantasy book. It's the first book of the Kingkiller Chronicles series. The series is not complete yet, and people make sure that the author, Patrick Rothfuss, is getting a lot of crap for it because he could have finished the series a long time ago. So I'll give you a small overview of the story, then my likes and dislikes and my score, and afterwards I want to discuss a few spoiler things because I want to keep this review spoiler free. So the story itself is set in a world called Tamarant, and this world is very good, it's very fleshed out, it has a rich history, it feels very alive. There are fairies or demons, depending on if they're nice or not, and it has some magic and it's very good. So the main character in the story is Kote, an innkeeper that is not actually an innkeeper. He used to be a very different man. He used to be Kvothe. He has done a lot of notorious stuff that we don't know about yet in the beginning, but at his inn he's getting a visitor called Chronicler, and this man wants to record his story. So Kvothe agrees and wants to tell his story if Chronicler has 3 days for writing it all down. And this book is the first day of the story. Kvothe tells the story of his youth in this book. He is the son of a traveling troupe of musicians, and the family they are a part of is called the innkeeper. And they are very prideful and very good musicians, and he is exactly the same. He is a very intelligent character, and on their travels he sees an arcanist who has studied at the famous university perform some kind of magic that he doesn't really know. He calls the wind like in the great stories of Taborlin the Great, and Kvothe is amazed by that and wants to know how to do this, and he gets to learn a lot from Kvothe, who starts traveling with the troupe, and that's the first part of the book. One thing that he learns is sympathy, which could be described as a kind of very scientific magic that relies on willpower, and he picks up everything super fast. So Kvothe thinks that Kvothe should go to the university and study there. And the character, Kvothe himself, is very smart. He's a super clever guy. He picks up everything very fast, but he also has a lot of pride, and he really is blind to some aspects and misses some things because of that. And this whole book describes his journey and him studying at the university. And I won't get into any spoilery stuff, but the story is actually very sad at some points, and I think it's an amazing story. So I'll get to my likes and dislikes now. Well, my likes, there's a lot to like about this book in my opinion. In my opinion, Rothfuss really nailed this prideful, super intelligent character so much so that a lot of people actually start hating Kvothe, but that's just exactly how he is supposed to be in my opinion. He's very intelligent, but he's also very dumb in some situations. He just doesn't get some stuff, and he's got so much pride that he really gets him some very bad situations later on. The next great thing about this book is the prose. This book has some amazing prose, probably one of the best written fantasy books out there, and I think a lot of people agree that the book is just generally very well written. In fact, it's so well written that I can't read this book on the bus, and there's this one scene where I get very emotional. I won't tell you what happens now because it's kind of a spoiler, but I was on the bus and I was reading a scene and it was just like kind of hinting to what was going to happen, and I got so emotional. Like, it wasn't even the scene itself because I'm not dumb enough to read that on a bus, but man, it's really dumb when you start looking up from the book and like your eyes are really teary. And okay, I'm not that emotional usually, but this book just, I don't know, it ticks everything for me, and I get really into it. So yeah. The story itself is very intriguing as well. Like, the whole world has so many secrets, and the magic in this world is amazing. There's like two different kinds of magic. It's the sympathy thing, which is very scientific, and then there's sigilry, which is like a variation of sympathy. And then there's also the naming aspect, which I don't want to spoil. It's basically you call the name of something, and for example, you call the name of the wind, and the wind has to obey your command. And it's really creative. It's an amazing magic system, and we don't know a lot about it yet in this book, so I won't get into it too much. It's really cool. And last but not least, the characters are amazing. I really like all of the characters. I just like everything about this book. So yeah, it's the fourth time I have read this book, and I freaking adore it. It's amazing. So when I get to my dislikes, there's not much to tell you here. I can see why some people dislike certain aspects, like Kvothe's character can get a little bit annoying. Like, if you're not a musician, you wouldn't get it. Or I'm 15 years old, so I got a really big boner when a woman touched me. Like, it can get a bit annoying, but not that bad. It's not that bad. So my score for this book is a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, this is my favorite fantasy series ever. So yeah, this book just, it hits home for me. Now then, let's get into the spoiler stuff, and if you haven't read the book, then please stop watching the video and get this book. It's freaking amazing. Read it. My favorite part of the book is probably when Kvothe's parents die and the time afterwards, because it's so emotional, and I just really enjoy the scene where he is alone in the wilderness, he's playing his instrument, he's playing his lute, and I don't know, it's just really touching. The whole scene, like the whole, it's very well written, it's touching in my opinion. I really like it, and I get very emotional, like I kind of tear up when I read this. It's really sad. I don't even know why. I'm usually not that emotional, but you know, I couldn't help it. Another thing I love is when Kvothe plays music. Like, him playing the lute is usually written so well. I feel like sometimes the prose in this book gets like a level up, and that's usually when there's music or he's very angry, like when his lute breaks or when his parents die and he's very sad. So it's just so well written. I don't know. I think the characters in this book are very enjoyable. Like, there's not a focus on a whole lot of them, but Kvothe is interesting. I know he can get annoying a bit, but I like Denna. I feel like these broken characters just, they are so interesting to observe, and everything they do kind of makes sense in the character, even though it can be a bit weird and annoying. The university with masters, Kilvin, Elodine, Lauren, I think that's also cool. I really like the secrets in this world, like the door in the university and the magic that we don't really know anything about yet. And I really enjoy Elodin, just the character, the master namer. I think he's so deep, and I think he's really cool in this book. I really like the scene where Kvothe calls the wind and it obeys him, but he's really disoriented afterwards, and Elodine somehow calms his mind, and I think it really sheds a different light on this super crazy character Elodine that has been watching the wind and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Right there we realize that he's actually super smart, and like why he is a master at the university, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, I really like this book. I like the world, I like the characters, I like the story. So I'm gonna be reviewing the second book next week, and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure to leave a like and maybe sub to this channel, and I'll see you in the next week. Till then, bye!